BigVitoBrand.com, and I am Virtue, being joined by the man himself, Big Vito LaGrasso. What's up, man?
How's it going, everybody? It's the BIGV from the LOG coming to you live, baby, live. I'm hoping everybody is having a great day. Today is Super Bowl Sunday. We're taping early so everybody can enjoy the Super Bowl. We got a lot of good topics. We got a lot of good things. The Big Vito brand is on Patreon. You know, David is in No DQ and Big Vito brand, and he appears on the Russo brand. So that man's with a plan. He's going all around. Might make it to Japan. David, take it away.
Dude, topic number one, Vito. Bad Bunny. You know who Bad Bunny is?
I seen that whole debacle, and that is the most horrible thing I've seen yet.
So let me present this to you, and you can give me your thoughts. So he's got a lot of followers and traction in the Hispanic community for his hip hop, but I don't know who he is. I know a lot of people don't know who he is, and to me, he's just a guy that can TikTok with Nia Jax. Is WWE hitting a demo with this guy? He might even have a match at WrestleMania.
That's the rumor that's being heard. Is there's a match at WrestleMania. He's going to be involved. I think it's the worst idea. Why can't you give a spot like that to somebody with credibility, somebody who will draw the ratings, somebody who has wrestling in them? This just sounds like a bunch of the writers who are young kids putting a rapper in there and got Vince's ear. And Vince is very much into the numbers and, you know, what you're drawing on the outside of WWE. And he thinks that's going to be, you know, inflicted in his numbers and inflate his revenue. Bad mistake. Don't dig it. The guy's a mark. Keep him out of the business.
How long before there's a TikTok with Nia Jax and him? I mean, this is my way to talk about Nia Jax TikTok and get it out of the way.
Well, this is Nia Jax, and this is her TikTok. And you've seen that it was a flop for her character, right? And you saw that this just didn't work out. You know what's twice as bad? Is Doug Flutie winning the 24/7 title from R-Truth and then him winning it back. Doug Flutie during the Super Bowl.
I missed it. So Doug Flutie. Wow.
Doug Flutie won the 24/7 title.
Like, isn't he the shortest quarterback of all time?
He's one of the best quarterbacks of all. I think he was a great quarterback.
Well, yeah, you know, he was good, but I mean, he's a football player, and that's what they're doing with the 24/7 title.
The ratings thing. This is Bad Bunny football. You know, when Doug Flutie, who has no business wrestling, no business involved in the sport, and you let him win the title. That's why I said this was a garbage title. This was a no-win title. This should have been a TV title. This title should never exist.
Yeah, it's trash. I think that Peter Rosenberg won it at the Royal Rumble too. He's like a commentator guy.
Yeah, it's just like when Gronk won it, right? What credibility did it give?
None.
You're in Tampa. That's where they taped. Gronk was with the Bucks. Yeah, it just, you know, the whole thing.
Well, Gronk's in the Super Bowl now, so we'll see how he does there. Okay, we'll move on. At the Royal Rumble, Vito, Christian and Carlito both returned. Carlito looked jacked, but it's strange that he hasn't had a job like with a major company for quite some time. I want your take on why that could be. And then Christian, I think he might even be working some matches on a part-time basis. He actually looked really good. Like he's been waiting for this opportunity. What's your thoughts on those returns?
All right. Christian coming back. You always had it in the back of your mind. He will come back because his buddy is back. And if both of them can retire fully together on their terms instead of injury terms, then I think it's fine. Okay?
Yeah.
Carlito, from what I understand, was under contract for a little bit. And they were just waiting for a time to bring him back. My take on Carlito, they wasted him. It was the most lackluster introduction back into the WWE. But remember, Carlito left on kind of like bad terms, good terms. He didn't leave with the best of terms. And what happens when you return to the WWE and you get in that contract? They are going to make an example of you and show that you were never bigger than them. This is Vince's revenge. I thought they wasted Carlito. He looked fantastic. On Monday night, they put him in a tag match with Jeff Hardy as a babyface. His comeback looked terrible. I didn't like it at all. They should keep him a heel. He's not a babyface. And I think they're dropping the ball again. They don't want guys bigger than what they are. Carlito has, star power. I don't think he has heavyweight champion star power, but at the high mid-card level, he can be a very big asset and a good heel and a good draw.
Now, do you think Christian will be a nice crutch with the Edge storyline, whatever Edge decides, whenever they say who Edge is going to face for WrestleMania? We will talk about that in the main event today because Edge is the #1 contender now. But do you think the Christian being back can give that some spice?
I think that, and this is a wild thing by me, but me being creative, somehow, some way, Christian gets into WrestleMania and he has to fight Edge. That would be the most anticipated, most watched match of all time.
Well, we'll come back to that because that's interesting that you say that because right now they're parading Edge around. He's going on Raw, he's going on NXT, and he was on SmackDown on who he's going to challenge, by being the winner of the Rumble. But we will come back to that because I am interested on more details from you and your thoughts. But before that, we have some sad news, Vito. The natural Butch Reed, he passed away over the weekend. And Doom, I think that was an underrated tag team. What do you think of Doom, him and Ron Simmons? And in general, Butch Reed?
I think that they didn't get enough play and they didn't get enough time together and the push they needed to be even more successful. I mean, eventually Ron Simmons became World Heavyweight Champion, the first Black champion. It is Black History Month. So, kudos to Ron Simmons. But with Butch Reed, he was a cat who beat to his own tune. He was definitely a different talk and a different way of life. And I mean that in a good way. I got nothing bad to say about him. And, everybody has their own thing in wrestling and everybody portrays himself in a certain way. But, at the end of the day, he put his time in. He had a good run. He was successful. Could everybody in wrestling be more than what they are? It's just who's pushing the buttons for you to be successful.
And he did spend some time over in WWE, I think, in the 80s. And you know how Vince McMahon did. He picked and chose the top few guys he really wanted to push there. Everybody else he brought in, they were just there like Dusty Rhodes. And so I think Skull Von Crush came in the early 90s. Remember that guy?
Yeah, that guy. And that kid was something. He was a blue chipper, that Skull Von Crush. He was a blue chipper. He was something to be reckoned with. I'm telling you. And he wound up being a bonus, baby. I'm telling you, that kid was something.
Dude, Vito, here is some news it's always hard to digest for me. Not that I'm against this. It's weird. I don't understand. I don't know anybody, but I want your take on this. Tyler Reks just recently came out as a woman, and I'm sure you saw that online, and I don't know if he's going to continue to See, that's what it's confusing when you're used to somebody one way. It's hard to adapt to the whole Bruce Jenner stuff that happened. How do you perceive stuff like this? And now with Tyler Reks, he's in the wrestling business. Do you think he's done with wrestling, or is he going to, we're talking Big Vito joining Nyla Rose over in AEW. Tyler Reks is now a woman. Like, what is your take on this? I don't really know how to. This is just difficult for me to digest. Just because I don't know. I don't know. Do you have a take on this?
All right, guys. Here's how I'm going to explain it. Hopefully everybody can understand it, okay? Me, Vito LaGrasso, being a super tough Italian dude, right? And a gangster and everything that you think about machismo style. When I came out in the dress, it was in character, okay? But this was ahead of my time and ahead of everybody else's time because the year I did this, a lot of people thought of me as a hero. People of that nature who wanted to reveal themselves, wanted to show the world that they could wear a dress, but they weren't tough enough. They didn't have enough courage, or they didn't, know how people would perceive them. And I went out carefree, not giving a shit in the world who was going to say anything, because I know who I am. I'm confident. There wasn't anybody who was going to make me feel uncomfortable. And if that came to pass, I was going to take care of business myself. Now, the flip side of this is you take Gabbi. That's the way she wants to be represented.
Yes.
Inside of her. Now, remember, she was there when I was there. And imagine that I'm doing something she's wishing she could do. Just like there are probably a lot of guys who wish they could have been me because their inner feelings were of that nature. A lot of guys won't come out and say it. Did I catch guys looking at me back then? And, I did. I never said nothing. You know what I mean? But I was like, all right, what the hell, Did I get a lot of compliments from men? Yes. Did I go out and, men tell me I'm beautiful, or buy me a drink at the bar and I didn't know, what? It's like, okay. But when you have that in you, it's hard for you to come out, because of society. It can be cruel. It's mean. It's pulverizing. It can cripple you. It could bring you to your knees. A lot of people won't come out. That's why they say the term in the closet is the term in the closet. They don't want nobody to know. So for this man who had an awesome body, he had an awesome look. He probably had a lot of charisma to be more than what he was in wrestling. And here he was suffering inside. You listen to the story and you say, okay, I feel for you, man. What can you do? Because now in today's age, you're more compassionate to people. But Big Vito coming out in a dress, ain't nobody was compassionate to me. My own family took a stand against me. Nobody can understand. I was ahead of my time. If I was to come out today in a dress, I would probably be the most accepted pro wrestler of all time. Not to mention, when I did that, I had an undefeated streak. I was the most recognizable pro athlete going. Everybody knew who I was. There wasn't a person who didn't know. I was on TV. I was doing commercials. I did Playgirl. I did a bunch of media stuff. People knew who I was.
Was that like 2006? What year was that again?
2006, 2007.
That's what I thought. Man, time flies, Vito. It's 2021. Yeah. Wow.
But you're talking now, me trying to go and do something similar and get back on, because I could be an asset to the company and draw a certain rating, bring in a certain crowd, stand up for certain people's rights, because it wouldn't be far-fetched for me to stand there and defend them, because I lived like this for a year. So I got to see the other side of this, and I understood where they were coming from. One guy who came, I was on a plane, he said to me, I wish I could be you. I said, why do you wish you could be me? He said, if I can go in my garden and I could garden in a dress, I would be the happiest man alive. I said, so why don't you? He says, because the people in the neighborhood, and if I was seen, they would kill me, they would beat me up, it would be horrible. A lot of people commended me for having the courage to do this, and I wasn't part of that gender, or I didn't have those kind of feelings. I didn't want to change my way. I didn't want to change me being a woman. I just did it carefree. And you got to see me, my inner self, being happy and smiling and having a good time. Because that's me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So for all the people out there who have something bad to say, check yourself, because people have feelings. And it must be tough because there are probably some things in David's world or Aaron Rick's world or Vince Russo's world or anybody's world that they wish they could do, but they don't have the guts to do. And that's just normal. You can't be fearless on everything, but sometimes you just hold back from being you, and it's normal stuff. Today's society with social media and everything coming out and all the people and doing everything, guys, be kind to each other. We have enough grief in life, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
yeah, we joke about Nia Jax and the TikTok as a haha, but by no means do we mean any disrespect to her. Do we look at her and say, hey, we wish you'd be more careful, do this with your character, that. But, I enjoy Nia Jax TikToks because she has a good time with it and she's being herself. So I like it. So I'm cool with it.
Tony Khan, if you want to be creative. Now, I don't even know if Gabby's heart's in wrestling anymore, but I see Big Vito LaGrasso, Vicky Guerrero, Nyla Rose, and Gabby on television. You want to turn some heads. There you go.
I think that would be the most awesome foursome, bigger than the Four Horsemen, because we would be powerful in speaking about something. We would represent something bigger than wrestling. Guys, think of that for a second. Something bigger than wrestling. Real life.
Yep. All right, I want your take on this, Vito. Well said, by the way. There was an article by one of our columnists over on No DQ over the last several days. It really got a lot of heat, and he basically said Triple H has been a failure in terms of talent relations because what big stars have come out of NXT? I want to know your take on that. Is he kind of handcuffed because it's just more of he's bringing indie guys in, or does that argument hold some water? Maybe he's not that good at talent relations. What do you think, being in the business? Is Triple H a failure at that particular portion of his job, finding main event stars?
Okay, guys. This training facility came out about 2005, and that Vince wanted to make his own stars, right? So he didn't want to reuse all the old talent and bring them in because he wanted fresh talent. He wanted new talent. They had that class with Shelton Benjamin and Batista and Brock Lesnar and Cena. All right. If I'm missing somebody, I apologize. But
Randy
Orton. Okay. Now, you talk about a once-in-a-lifetime class coming out like that. And as these guys grew in the business, they all became bigger stars than what they were supposed to be. And they went their own way and they made their own money, and Vince lost control. And when you lose control, you don't like that. And Vince likes to be in control of your destiny. Okay? Now, The Rock came in, he made his way, he became a tremendous actor, a tremendous superstar outside the business. Batista followed, and you say, he floundered as an actor, but then he skyrocketed to superstardom. John Cena, he had a great 12, 13, 14 years in the WWE, went to the movies. He's in Hollywood, okay? Now you're talking about three guys that we know of that have been extra successful. There's a handful, okay? Everybody does movies, everybody does something, but to be that kind of superstardom, you gotta be special. It's gotta be gifted to you. It's in your papers when you leave to go be born. You say you will be this. And when you say, is Triple H a failure? He is not a failure because his baby was NXT. NXT, when you think about them selling out the Brooklyn Center, the Barclays Center, and when NXT was going around, when Kevin Owens was the top dog there, right? And they had a good following and they were doing live events. Wasn't NXT selling out arenas? And wasn't NXT doing ratings?
Well, it had, you got to remember too, they had a lot of homegrowns, not just indie plucked people. Like Enzo and Cass were coming up, and people loved them. It was a perfect storm. But what his article suggested is not that Triple H wasn't able to bring in wrestlers and get wrestlers to the main card and teach them the WWE and maybe have a main event or two. He was really saying Triple H hasn't produced any Hulk Hogan's, Steve Austin's, The Rocks.
You see, it's a double-edged sword, because you're taking guys in who are raw in wrestling, who don't know the wrestling business. They don't have the effect to go into territories to learn their craft. You can't learn everything from a developmental standpoint, okay? Now, when you learn the developmental standpoint and you become a homegrown star in that organization, NXT, for all intents and purposes, is its own business. It's its own channel, own rating, own everything. Guys, if they were to keep Enzo and Cass and Kevin Owens and all the rest of the guys who came through those doors on NXT, that program would be bigger than Raw and SmackDown. You can't teach and then have them go up to the next level and tell them to forget everything they learned at NXT and retrain them. It doesn't work. They don't have enough experience to do it. You can't do it. That's why there are no major superstars, and that's why Edge is back, Christian's back, Carlito's back, Victoria came back, Hurricane Helms came back, right? You're waiting for Brock Lesnar to come back. You're burying Goldberg, but Goldberg came back, right? Now, Goldberg just had our championship match, okay? He said, I didn't have enough time to prepare. When Goldberg showed up in shorts, he was right. He wasn't training for wrestling. He wasn't training for bodybuilding. He was probably going to the gym, living his life. Oh, Vince called me. Got to get ready, brother. And then he's in there with these shitty shorts. He reminded me of Jim Duggan. I crapped on it. And then watching him run and do his spots, it was horrible. It was tough. And I'm not knocking Bill. He did a lot for the business, and he did great things in the business. But he's not doing this every day, and you can't just go back and relive 20 years of glory in one night. It's just not there.
Yeah, I think if anything, when he came back and he squashed Ziggler in like a 1-minute match, that's Goldberg. Because you know he can come out, do it, probably end up looking okay. Somebody that can sell for him. That's where. But I mean, how do you do that? You just keep bringing him back and having him squash nobodies, you know. But that's when he looks the best.
But the thing is, when he came back to fight Brock Lesnar, and there was a Brock Lesnar feud, he had proper time to train. Okay. He got in the ring. He didn't look bad. It looked like Goldberg. And that was money. That was something. It was a draw. He legit beat Brock Lesnar. Yes, Lesnar returned the favor. But for the people to believe, guys, it was beautiful. You can't say that was bad. But then you're talking about going to Saudi in 100-degree weather, 20-degree weather, trying to wrestle, trying to pick up The Undertaker. You're falling flat on your face. You don't have the get. The Undertaker looked horrible. Come on, guys. You just can't do it. But the people want to see these people. So what do? Do you keep them hired and do you keep them wrestling week after week? Or do you bring them in on a one-shot deal where they don't look crisp, they look out of shape, they don't look like they used to? But, you know, I bet you dollars to donuts that Christian was training the whole time. Carlito looked phenomenal because he's still wrestling, and I bet, and he looked swole. Edge has been training. And I mean, the guys know that they're going to be in the game. You train a certain way, you take certain vitamins, and you're good. Come on, guys.
Carlito eating a lot of apples. Okay, Vito, main event time. Edge is the winner of the Royal Rumble.
There's a gentleman in there. As soon as I saw those gym shorts, I felt he had some leg injury. You know what? Perception is 20/20. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. I don't know. He just didn't look like Goldberg, ripped up, and he didn't have the skinny waist. He wasn't in his trunks, and he just did not go. I just did not believe it.
Good point there with the gym shorts or the the baggy shorts. All right, Edge, winner of the Royal Rumble. He's going to main event WrestleMania. Who do you got him against and why? Now, you said Christian earlier. I can't see Christian getting in. That means Christian would have to become a champion. I just don't see that. Now, after WrestleMania, whether Edge wins a title or not, I could see Christian teaming up with him and or feuding against him then. But leading into Mania, I can't. But I'm going to go ahead and say I think it's going to be Edge and Roman at this point. Brock, with the traveling bans from Canada or the restrictions, I just don't see Brock yet until we get back to more normalcy. I saw a rumor it could have been McIntyre and Edge. Somebody would probably have to turn heel because baby versus baby just don't work, in my opinion. So I'm going to say Roman Reigns and Edge will be the main event of WrestleMania. Spear versus spear. I know that's for 10-year-olds. What does Vito think?
Why can't – now this is Vito 101 Wrestling. You talk about Edge and Christian, right? They've been blowing this feud out with Randy Orton and Edge. I think we've gotten away from it, okay? You think it's over? Here comes Christian. He's fresh. He's looking good. Everything is cool. What about him going to NXT and winning the title off Finn Balor? Now he's a champion. Why does Edge have to fight Roman Reigns or McIntyre? Doesn't,
because they're the bigger stars. But go ahead, say your piece first.
So if Christian comes back as a champion and flaunts it in Edge's face, jealousy, I'm better than you, I'm a champion, you're not. And Christian makes a hell of a heel.
It's true.
Guys, Christian, Edge for the NXT title. I can see McIntyre and Roman Reigns for a unified strap.
That actually is not a bad idea, the unified strap. I'd love for them to go to one title.
If they went to one title, they're already taping in the same place. There's no travel restrictions. You're going to the same arena. What's the flux for the champion to be there for an extra day to go to SmackDown and Raw and make an appearance? When you're the champion, you're the face, you got to carry the load. That would be the requirement. So you got to wrestle 2 days. You're not wrestling 5, right? But Edge and Christian wrestling, okay? And then just say they keep the title separate, and here's Edge with the NXT title, Edge and Christian drawing ratings for NXT, AEW, right? And just to say Edge goes and wins that title on NXT ratings, where does he go?
Now, Edge showed up on NXT this past Wednesday, and now granted, it wasn't really heavily promoted until like the day of. They didn't move a dime. They hardly went up. AEW still beat them. So I just think no matter who shows up in NXT, I mean, Charlotte was there last year feuding with Rhea Ripley, and she was main roster and won the Rumble. Like basically what you suggest here with Edge and Christian. I just think NXT is so embedded as developmental, it's never going to be that Raw and SmackDown draw. Just my opinion, but yeah, I see where you're going with that, though. You want to build it up as a big third brand. I see that.
But you see Finn Balor, right? They all thought he was going to be the next great thing until Rollins hurt him, right? And I didn't see him being a world champion. Not at all. He's an NXT champion. Yep. He's a cruiserweight champion. He's not a heavyweight champion. He doesn't have that it factor. Daniel Bryan is not a world champion material. He's an Intercontinental champion, a U.S. title champion, a tag team champion. But his flame, his shining star has passed. The Miz with the Money in the Bank. Come on.
Hey, I wonder how that's going to end.
Yeah, but you want to know something, guys?
Can he cash that in on the NXT title?
Say it again.
Could the Miz cash that in on the NXT title? Because that might be a nice little sport. Because nobody's expecting the Miz to win the WWE title or the Universal title. So why not cash it in on the NXT champion at one of their events at the end and win it?
Now, here's something else, right? If I'm not mistaken, Edge and The Miz don't like each other, or they had some run-ins in the past, right?
Unconfirmed, but I want to think that's accurate.
Okay, so what happens if, like what I said is true, and Edge does challenge Finn Balor? Edge goes over to NXT, and the night that he does, how about The Miz running in and cashing in the Money in the Bank? The Miz is not a homegrown NXT talent. So if The Miz went to NXT and became their champion, he gives the belt even more credibility because he's a former 2-time or 3-time world champion. Makes sense, guys?
Now, I see your philosophy there. If it wasn't Edge, but it was Daniel Bryan who was the winner of the Rumble, I could see Daniel Bryan being like the one to go to NXT to cash in his opportunity at Mania for that, just because he wants to wrestle the younger guys. But with Edge, I just think they're really going to go Drew or Roman. That's what I think.
Now, I tell you guys, we got, it's hit or miss, but what I'm saying is old school wrestling 101. Guys, make sure you check out Patreon on the Big Burrito brand. Tiers starting out at $1. I'm telling you guys, we got everything that you want. You have any more great concepts today, Virtue?
The last topic I have is we got to talk about the women's Royal Rumble winner, Bianca Belair. And I have a feeling they're going Bianca versus Sasha. And that's going to be a hit with the ladies. So what's your take on Bianca Belair being – they need to push a new star.
All right. Now, you want to know something? I thought that the Royal Rumble men's match wasn't that bad. And I thought the women's match wasn't that bad. So it was a pretty good Royal Rumble because you got to see the star. You got to see the people you wanted to see in there, and it wasn't a shit fest. You know what I mean? And, Kane came back, and, you had a bunch of different people, but it was interesting. They kept it interesting. The finish of the women's match, Lana getting revenge on Nia Jax. You saw some great maneuvers. Some good wrestling in there. I think that if Bianca Belair can pull the upset over Sasha Banks, I think that would be very good. Now, there's another thing. Does Bianca Belair have to go to Sasha Banks? Does she go grab the NXT? Was she NXT champion?
No, she never won it down there when she was there.
She never won the NXT title, right?
No.
So now we have champion Sasha Banks is on Raw. Who is the women's champion on SmackDown?
Asuka.
So an Asuka-Bianca Belair match, I would think that those two styles might work. You think?
Asuka's pretty good in terms of everybody I've seen her work with. It's been pretty good. So for her being strong style, I think that would work. I think she'd make it work.
I still would like to see Ronda Rousey and Asuka for a title match.
And with the people like Brock and Ronda, I think we'll see them again, but I think it's going to have to be bigger crowds. I think that they're for whatever reasons, like the whole Rock and Roman head of the table thing. It's going to be back to when things are normal. So to me, WWE is just going to fill in the blanks for this year. Remember, 2 nights of Mania, so they're probably going to have 6-7 matches each night.
Now I hear you. And somebody in the chat just said, Bianca Belair is charismatic, attractive, athletic. She's a future champion, but is she ready to do it? But promo-wise, it wouldn't work. That's where you saw Paul Heyman interject with them. Could Paul Heyman finally represent a woman in the WWE?
That's a good point. Yeah, he hasn't done that.
He hasn't done that yet. It would be a new concept because everybody else could speak. She might not be able to speak. Just like, Roman Reigns really didn't get over till Paul Heyman joined them. Now you have intrigue. And when Brock comes back, where does Paul Heyman's alliance lie? Where does he go? And
that will be an interesting storyline for when that happens. Yep, absolutely. That's all the news this week, Vito. Did I forget anything? You usually pick up on something that I don't. Did you have
No,
anything to add?
what I was going to say is, does Heyman turn on Roman Reigns and his loyalty to Brock, or does Heyman see a Brock Lesnar weakness and turn on Brock?
I think Heyman's to stay with Roman indefinitely. I would see a babyface Brock push if he comes back, and Heyman's against him. That's my take.
No, I hear you. No, I think we covered it all, Virtue. I think we did a great job this week. You had a lot of good topics. I think we gave people what they wanted. They wanted wrestling. They wanted everything here. Now, Virtue, you're going to close the show and do all the plugs. We got a lot of plugs to do. Guys, Virtue's going to close it for us. Take it away.
Well, this is thebigvitobrand.com, and be sure to check out the Patreon, which is patreon.com/thebigvitobrand. Follow Vito over on Twitter @thebigvitobrand. And you can follow and troll with me as well at @NoDQ_Virtue. But that is it. This week, it's time for Vito and I to go watch the Super Bowl. So with that said, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. For Big Vito LaGrasso, I am Virtue. This has been Getting Color on thebigvitobrand.com. See you next time.